This week is a very special episode because instead of doing an album or a movie, we're just going to talk about Irish reunification the entire time because we listened to Tourist History and I just kept thinking, wow, are these guys Irish or are they not Irish? Are they Northern Irish? Is that the same thing? Who knows?
Is Northern Irish fake Irish or is it real Irish?
I don't know if you could say that. The UK might shut us down, unfortunately.
The king.
The king.
He will come join the king over here that we have now. And yeah.
Do you think the king is going to survive the rest of the year? I kind of forgot he was still alive, honestly.
I kind of forget he ages, you know?
Yeah, but wasn't he?
But he is
like
late 70s.
No, he's in his 80s, isn't he?
I think he's late 70s.
Okay,
I feel like
whatever he is, he's old. And didn't he have like cancer last year or something
I
too?
don't know. He's old and he's English, so he drinks a bunch of like tea and stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe that helps.
Is that a stereotype?
No.
What's a stereotype about Northern Irish people? I don't know anything.
I feel like back then it was all like together, just all under the rule of
Britain.
the UK though.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
Yeah. Shout out Guinness.
Shout out Ireland and Northern Ireland. I'd like to visit both.
Yeah.
Seems like a very cool island.
Belfast and Dublin.
Great accents as well. It's almost incomprehensible as English. I love that.
It sounds awesome. And I love the way they write their names so that you have to like do a puzzle to figure out how to say it. Welcome back to the Uncultured Pop Culture podcast. Almost forgot what we were there. My name is David. I am your host again, joined as always by the co-host,
Brandon.
That's right.
Yes, I was going to say I was the co-host, but you already beat me to it. We got a special episode for you, I guess. I guess every episode's special. You know?
I was going to say like...
But this is our first comedy. So that is big.
This is,
you know, because I write comedy, or I used to. I don't know if I can still say I write comedy, but when I was in film school, I wrote comedy.
Yeah, you could write comedy through your music.
Exactly. Yeah. So what did you watch this past week or listen to?
I mean, I've been busy, so I barely saw anything, but I did finally watch Megamind for the first time.
Oh, for the first time?
Yeah, I'd never seen it.
I saw that on your Letterboxd, but interesting.
It was fun. It was solid. 3.5.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of knew what it was about.
What is it about? It's about a dude with a big head who's blue.
It's like, pretty much two aliens get sent to Earth from dying planets,
aliens.
whatever. Well, yeah, but it's like pretty much they have superpowers.
Obviously, I've never seen it, but this is a movie that I would assume David has seen because it's kind of like a modern, it's not a classic, but you know,
it's like a kind of an animated classic, like 2010s classic, No, but it's pretty much like there's Megamind who's like the super villain, and then there's like the superhero, they're rivals and they go through the same motions day in, day out, that sort of thing. But then Megamind finally is successful in killing the superhero, and then he realizes that life has lost all meaning, so he tries to like make another one, but that goes wrong, and it's kind of him like turning into a hero. I don't know, it was fun. It's a fun movie. It's funny.
Is it Disney or is it DreamWorks?
It's DreamWorks.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I thought, but I wasn't totally
sure.
sure.
I know it's like one of their more appreciated films. I wouldn't say on a level, and this is like personally for me too, I don't think it's as good as How to Train Your Dragon, which is my favorite DreamWorks film.
Okay.
Or the Kung Fu Panda movie.
Above Shrek?
Well, I haven't seen Shrek since I was a little kid, so I don't remember.
Okay.
That being said, I think
Shrek is good.
I think it would be above Shrek because, to be honest, that's one of my favorite films or animated films of all time, and it's like up there just in general. So I wouldn't say it's as good as that or like the Kung Fu Panda, at least the first two films, but it's solid. Did you listen to anything this week?
I literally have not. I'm looking through my Spotify right now, trying to see if there's anything that I've been listening to. I've been like doing stuff this week.
You've been busy.
I've been going out. Oh, there's an ambulance going by. So whatever, we're just gonna record through it. Doesn't matter.
We're tired people.
We're tired. It's actually early in the day today. Okay, that's really loud. It's actually early in the day today, but I'm already done.
We're already exhausted.
I'm so tired. But there really hasn't been a lot coming out. And I know I said this before, but like I've just been so disappointed in everything that's coming out recently. So nothing new. But I have been listening to this album on repeat because I'm trying to differentiate between a lot of the songs because they are pretty similar. I mean, I'll spoil it. I do like this album.
Yeah.
So,
I did want to ask.
yeah.
Do you think it's going to pick up during the summer with album releases? Is that a typical time it picks up?
Summer usually isn't that good.
Oh.
So I'm not like really excited.
Yeah.
I guess I would say September.
Okay.
Usually the date I always look out for is the last Friday of August. Like not the one directly before Labor Day, like on Labor Day weekend, but like the last full week of August, last Friday in August. That's usually when it gets really good.
That's interesting.
Labor Day kind of sucks, and then it gets pretty good through September. October's really good, and then usually like second week of November, there's a huge album that comes out. That's kind of like the last one of the year.
That's interesting because that is in some ways different and very similar to like film releases.
Because it's Oscar season then, and then everybody's like trying to get something.
Well, yeah, because it's like May to August, it's all the big blockbusters. And then after that, September, that's like all the Oscar season.
Yeah, you get the indie films.
Yeah, pretty much. You see all that stuff come to theaters and stuff. So
yeah.
It's similar but different at the same time.
Do you have any movies you're excited for this summer, I should ask?
I mean, I have like a list ongoing where I write down the movies I want to catch in theaters based off release dates. I just haven't really been like going back to it and checking. I haven't been to the movie theater in close to a month at this point. It's been a while.
That is a lot.
Yeah, hopefully like this.
I mean, you've been busy though. So.
Yeah. Hopefully like next couple of weeks I'll go again. There are some I want to catch, but I don't know. There's nothing that's like caught my eye at the moment.
Yeah.
Last thing I saw was Sinners. That was a while ago at this point. Should we get into it?
Let's get into it. This is Two Door Cinema Club. This is our first like kind of indie album. It's our first indie rock album for sure.
Right.
They are a Northern Irish band. They're listed as a rock band. I don't know.
I feel like it's a kind of a mix of indie rock and pop. More.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely say like indie rock and indie pop. Like those are the two genres and they kind of like trade off throughout the songs. They are from Northern Ireland. It consists of 3 members, Alex Trimble, Kevin Baird, and Sam Halliday. This is their first album. It was released on February 17th, 2010 in Japan, February 26th in Ireland, March 1st in the UK. This is all by their independent record label, Kitsune. Yeah. And then April 27th in the United States by Glassnote Records, which is a American independent label, which is who it's distributed by here.
Are albums typically released like that? No, right?
Not that I've seen. I don't know. Maybe this is a different thing that I was not tapped into. Maybe Japan does get it early.
Yeah.
Because there aren't any like Japan exclusive songs on this, but they were on multiple independent labels. Technically in the UK, I think they're on Cooperative Music, but it's like merged in with Kitsune, which is like a big kind of like indie and like kind of indie rock label. There were 5 singles released from this album. Something Good Can Work in April of 2009. I Can Talk in November of 2009. Undercover Martin in February of 2010. Come Back Home in July of 2010. And What You Know in February of 2011. So they had almost 2 years worth of releasing the singles.
Yeah. And that's like half the album.
Yes, it actually is half the album. It's 5 out of the 10 songs, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And then I have one other note, which is this band loves their instrumental bridges. I don't think they wrote a single like lyrical bridge throughout this album. And I kind of like a good instrumental bridge. It's kind of fun. Also, it should be noted that the lead singer co-wrote a song with Ariel Pink called Rudolph's Laptop. It's about the Hunter Biden laptop controversy.
Oh, damn.
And it's also with the guy who got kicked out of Mumford & Sons for being a Nazi. Oh. So I don't know that this guy is good. That seems to happen with a lot of like indie boys from the 2010s who are like, you know what? Actually, the world is against me. So
wait, is he still working with Two Door Cinema Club? Or?
Yeah, I think their last song came out last year, like December of 2024. But they are still together as far as I know. I don't know about the other 2 members' like political affiliations. Also, this is weird, like this. So Ariel Pink, I believe, is American, but you got a Northern Irish dude, and then you got the Mumford and Sons guy who's either from the UK or Ireland. I don't remember which one. Why are they involved in the Hunter Biden laptop? Like, what? I don't.
Yeah, that doesn't
understand
make
what
any
this is.
sense.
And I don't understand why they feel the need to become involved in like American neo-Nazism when they could just stick to their own country's neo-Nazism. Like, stay in your lane, guys. But without further ado, let's get into the first song, which is Cigarettes in the Theater. This song I wrote feels very big, but there are only 4 lines in it that aren't the chorus. There are literally just 4 lines of lyrics that aren't the chorus repeated 3 times, and then you got the instrumental bridge. But it feels like a fully developed song because there's so much happening in the music.
I agree with that, yeah.
I think it captures the feeling of meeting someone hot and wishing you could see them again. That's what I wrote down. And the trumpet at the end, I thought was very fun. Kind of gives it a cinematic.
Which I feel like throughout the album, they do that a lot, bringing in instruments.
They do a lot of, they do a lot of like cinematic stuff, I think, in this. So I rated this song a 3, and it's because of the hi-hat that is super obnoxiously loud and like it hurts almost to listen to. And it goes throughout the entire song. But I like the song like outside of that. Yeah.
I gave it a 3.5. I thought,
oh, nice.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun song.
We're off to a good start.
Yeah. I like the music production on this song.
I agree.
And it just felt like a fun rock song. That being said, like, listening to it, I could see, because obviously I know that in the indie rock or indie pop world, there is a kind of a criticism where a lot of the music sounds the same. And going into the album, when I listened to this song, I thought to myself, I can see how that could happen here. Which I guess we'll talk about that later.
I will say I kind of think it did.
It did. I think it did too.
A lot of these songs, this is a very cohesive album, and I like that a lot because it's like everything sounds like it's supposed to be together. But then sometimes it's like, oh, what song am I listening to again? There are a few that like really stand out to me, and those are the ones that I really like.
I agree. I agree with that. I think for me, it did kind of have the same effect as with the Kesha album.
I agree. Yeah.
Where it's like at some point I was like, okay, like if I was listening to these songs outside of the context of the album, I would like them more. But in the context of the album itself, they kind of just mesh together.
I agree.
Which like I still like them, so I still like gave them good scores. It's just like I wonder if I would have liked them more outside of it.
I totally get that. Also, interestingly, this album came out about a month and a half after Kesha's album. So
there you go.
It's kind of that this is the time when this would happen, I guess.
Yeah.
Especially in like popular music. Now, this isn't like a pop album. This isn't like a popular album per se, but it is definitely like looked back upon as like being a defining moment in like indie rock and indie pop.
Yeah. And even if it isn't a pop like album specifically, I could see how certain elements can kind of permeate like different genres at the same time.
For sure. I mean, this isn't not a pop album. Like
but
there's
not
definitely
like
it's not a straight up pop album, but there's a lot of pop elements in it. Hence the indie pop title.
Exactly.
Our second song is Come Back Home. This was released as the 4th single from the album. This one peaked at 89 on the UK singles chart. I would have included the information about the Irish singles chart, but it is administered by the same company that does the UK singles chart, and they don't allow you to search the Irish singles chart. So
they were just like,
another way that the UK is influencing Ireland negatively. This guitar melody reminds me of Viva La Vida. Like, not necessarily the song, but the album. This is it's much more like a rock, and it's a lot like grittier.
Yeah, which I liked.
I agree. And I think it has a huge chorus that interrupts kind of like the driving motion of the song. Like the song continues going, but then you kind of get a break with the chorus, but it's not really a break because it's like louder and more, like it draws you in more in a way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought in general, obviously there's the electric guitar, which I think works very well. And then I think there are also a lot of little quirks in the production, like little just things in the production that really like set it apart and make it stand out more. Made me really like the song. I gave it a 4.
Okay, I gave this one a 3.5.
Yeah.
We liked it more than the first song.
Yeah.
Then we move on to, after track 2, we move on to track 7, which is also track 3 on the Spotify and American version, as far as I can tell.
Oh gosh, not another one of these.
I know. Undercover Martin. So this is supposed to be track 7 everywhere else in the world. I don't know why. I mean, actually,
We just gotta be special here in the US.
I can speculate why. It's because the other like big song from the album would be right after it, which is What You Know on like the standard edition.
Yeah.
But so on the American edition, they want to split it up, I guess. So I'll be reading both track numbers until we get back on track, pun intended, I guess. The double clap to start the song is iconic, as well as the guitar melody is very recognizable. This song, I feel like, was a meme at some point with the double clap, but I don't know for sure. I didn't look it up because I don't know how to search for that.
Yeah, I feel like I don't remember a meme like that, but then again, I didn't know that many memes when this song first came out.
Yeah, this was
that's
definitely...
why I'm like, I wouldn't have known.
This is definitely more around like 2016 or 17 when I was on like Instagram shitpost accounts. Like there was... I don't know what kind of corner of the internet I was on at that point, but it was weird.
But it was there pretty much.
Yeah, but that's where I feel like I've heard this song before, at least. This one went platinum in the UK, and it peaked at 79 on the UK singles chart and 49 on the Irish singles chart. I was able to find it on this one. This was featured on the soundtrack to Gran Turismo 5, which is a video game, racing game.
Yeah.
And this song I wrote, I could see this in Superbad. It's got kind of like a vibe where if they had scored the movie differently, like with indie music, this is 100%. Like it kind of fits. It fits the feeling.
If this came out like 2006 or 2005, yeah, I could see that. I thought it was a fun song.
Had you heard this one before?
I might have, but
that's
didn't
how
remember.
I feel about it. I feel like it's been around, but I don't like recall sitting down.
It feels like one of those songs where it could have come out like 10 years before it actually did.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Or like 10 years after. I realized at this point in the album is when I was like, okay, these songs are starting to sound the same for me.
Yeah.
So like the next like 5 songs, not to spoil it, but they all have the same score.
That's fair. Yeah. A lot of them have the same score for me.
And for most of them, I was like, I don't have much to say.
That's fair.
If I took these songs out of the context of the album, I could see the scores going up or in some cases going down because it's like, you know, maybe I would like them less in the context of the album or outside of the album.
Yeah.
But I still think that, you know, it was a fun song. I enjoyed it. This was a 3.5 for me, which for me is...
Same.
Yeah. Which I know our scores are kind of different for 3.5, but I know for me that's like a, solid song. It was enjoyable.
Yeah, this is a good song that I will listen to regularly.
Yeah. I kind of spoiled my next scores, but let's go ahead.
That's all right. Now we move on to track 4 in the American version or track 3 in the standard. This one is called Do You Want It All? With a question mark at the end.
Yeah, very important.
This one has a 7/8 time signature, and it kind of recalls that Viva La Vida because they did a lot of weird like time signatures. This was actually tagged on Rate Your Music as uncommon time signature. This album was because of this song, and I think this one is quite fun. There's not really much I can say. The only thing I said is All Because You Want to Be, which they repeat a million times in this song. There's a lot of repetition in this album, and weirdly, to me, it doesn't really feel like it.
Well, it's interesting that you brought that up because this song is where I noticed it most. And in this song, it didn't work for me because, you know, I feel like we've discussed me not liking too much repetition.
Yes, we have.
But I feel like...
Which is why I was surprised that you liked electronic music.
No, yeah, I feel like there it works if it's done well, you know? And here, I didn't really notice it in a lot of the other songs, but here, in this specific song, I did. I thought it was interesting because it did kind of switch it up with like quieter verses.
Yeah.
Which I liked, but the repetition kind of like brought it down for me, I guess. And I know I just said like my scores for the next 5 songs are all the same, but I forgot about this song. This song is a 3 for me.
This one's a 3 for me as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, that means different things for us. But
I thought it was
Yeah, I like this one. I think it's good. This is the lowest I get on the album. I'm going to say Cigarettes in the Theater was my least favorite song, the first one.
Yeah.
Even though they're the same score. But this one I like a little bit better because it doesn't have the annoying hi-hat in it. That like really just, I don't know.
Irked you.
Because once I heard it, I was like, this is the only thing I can focus on.
Yeah, which I get.
Track number 5 or 4, depending on the edition, is This Is the Life. This one is a good summery indie rock song that feels like the summer after high school, I wrote.
I
I
can see that.
I feel like this one also kind of fits the vibe of Superbad, like kind of more of the emotions it makes you feel.
Yeah.
And also, this has the return of the annoying hi-hat. Shout out. This
So
one's
how
a 3.
much do you hate this one?
No, this one's a 3.
Yeah.
I do like this
Okay.
one. I think I like it more than Do You Want It All? I mean, I don't know. A 7/8 time signature is fun, but sometimes
Yeah.
I just want to not think about it,
Yeah.
and
Which
just like tap along to it on the steering wheel or whatever.
Yeah. No, yeah, this one, I thought it was interesting that there seemed to be a little bit more of an electronic kind of sound to this song.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Kind of mixed with indie pop. I give it a 3.5. I think it's a solid song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally wrote for this song. I ultimately don't have much to say about it.
That's fair. Yeah. I think this one is a better like vibe of a song.
Yeah, I
We
agree.
kind of had that with S.G. Lewis, where there were a few songs where it's like you can't really say anything about it. It's just nice to listen to.
just a nice vibe.
So
I
that's
agree.
kind of how I feel about this one. Track number 5 or 6 is Something Good Can Work. This was their debut single, which was re-released and reproduced after they signed with Kitsune. This is a summary song. To me, I don't know what has kind of come before this, what's influenced them. A lot of people say
Yeah.
Block Party, which I'm not really familiar with their music, more so their modern stuff. But this, to me, kind of set the tone for a lot of indie pop from like 2010 through 2017.
I feel like if you know that scene, you can kind
Yeah.
of...
I listened
Yeah.
to this song and I was like, wow, this sounds a lot like Hippocampus's early music. So that's a
Well, I
band
haven't
that
heard
I've
either.
yeah, that's a band I'm like a big fan of. They're from the Midwest. Shout out St. Paul, Minnesota.
Oh, hell yeah.
But we will listen to them because
Yeah.
they're incredible.
At some point.
And I feel like this kind of like sets the tone for a lot of their stuff that they built off
I'm
of.
very intrigued now.
And then I also wanted to say the chorus, he's like almost rapping at some parts. Like he's
It's
going so
very, very
fast, it becomes
fast.
like percussive. And
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
In some ways, it kind of reminded me. Do you know the band Tally Hall?
I've heard of them. I don't know that I've heard that much of their music.
I know one of their songs has, I think it's either the verses or the chorus, is very similar in the sense that there's like the very, very fast, almost rapping. Or
Yeah.
I guess you could just say it's rapping.
I mean, it almost is.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. This song is a 4 for me.
Oh, wow. This one is a 3.5.
This is one of the ones that caught my ear. This took a minute. Like, this was like second or third listen when I was like, oh, I get it.
It like clicked in place.
Yeah, because the first listen, I was kind of like, oh, it sounds the same. But then you kind of like, you hear the little things that make it different. And
Yeah.
this one definitely, like, once I learned that this was like their first single, I was able to be like, oh, yeah, I can see how it's different and like how you would have produced a demo. Like,
Yeah.
how this song would have like kept some of the demo parts to it. Track number 6 or 7 is I Can Talk. This was the second single of the album. It was featured in NBA 2K11, FIFA 11, and Motion Sports Adrenaline. And the only thing I wrote about this song was ah-oh, ah-oh.
Yeah. I remember the first time I listened to the opening, I was like, "Ooh, what is this?"
Yeah.
But it kind of grew on me a little bit. I think the song is, I think it worked for me a lot more than the other songs because it is kind of different,
It is. It's got a little bit more of like a kind of indie rock side to it.
which I liked. And that ultimately pushed it up to a 4 for me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I like this song. And I didn't really expect to. Like when I first heard the opening, I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this song.
You don't like
but
ah-oh.
It just caught me off guard. And
Yeah.
Because like listening back to it the second time, I was like, oh, this is actually fun. This is a fun opening to the song. So I like it.
This one's a 3.5 for me. So kind of keeping your same score,
Yeah, exactly.
Now we go back to the regular edition of the album. Everything comes back at track 8. This is What You Know.
I get why they moved the other song, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm still like, why?
I didn't end up listening to it like in how it was supposed to be listened to because I just had my notes already and then I was like, no, I just want to hear Undercover Martin right now.
Yeah.
Like, I see it that it's supposed to be next on my queue. But What You Know was the final single from the album. This one peaked at 64 in the UK, so it was much bigger,
Oh.
but still not huge, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah.
This was used as in an advertisement for Microsoft Outlook, among other advertisements that were listed. And this one has almost 1 billion streams. This is the big song. It's at like 960, I think. This, I think, is a perfect example of the indie pop and rock from this era. When I think of this era, I think of Undercover Martin, I think of this song, and then you think
Yeah.
of like Vampire Weekend, all that other stuff that was kind of like on the blogs. Like it was very kind of underground, but then it became mainstream. And then we had like songs that came out of that. Like there'd be the random one-off songs like AWOL Nation
Yeah.
with Sail. And I remember Alex Clare. I don't know that anybody else remembers him.
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah,
to be
but
honest.
I think he was British too. But he had a song that was like, it was described as indie, but then there was like dubstep in it. I mean, we kind of had like Imagine Dragons doing the
not
same
really
thing where it's
indie,
like,
is it?
yeah, where it's like there's parts of indie and then it just like completely strays away.
Yeah.
But this was the indie that everybody was trying to like copy
Yeah.
and then screwed it up, or sometimes for the better.
They're trying to catch on or get on the bandwagon pretty much.
Exactly, yeah. But this song sticks out to me. This is one that I always think of. You got the like, I guess it's a cowbell at the beginning with the guitar.
Something like that.
This one's a 4 for me.
Yeah, this one is also a 4 for me. It is very similar, but at the same time, there's just something about it that catches you, I feel like.
Yeah. The chorus is really good too.
Yeah. And I think the production is like there's a lot going on in the production.
There really is,
which
yeah.
kind of pulls you in. Yeah, so this is a 4. This was like one of 3 songs, including I Can Talk to You and
Or I Can Talk.
or
Yeah.
I Can Talk, yeah, and Come Back Home that like caught me and are songs that I would go back to.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Track number 9, Eat That Up. It's Good for You. This is supposedly a song about helping a friend through a breakup. I could kind of see that.
Yeah.
But then there's also the line of you would look better without makeup or whatever, however he phrases it, which is very like 2010, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of funny
The
because
all natural look.
exactly. I'm not gonna say that to somebody. You may think it, you know?
Yeah, but that's not
But-
something you say.
No, that's for them to figure out,
Yeah.
you know? But this song has an instrumental bridge like
Yeah.
all the other songs do, but I think this one is the best one.
That's interesting because I was honestly kind of like I didn't remember it that well.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially after such a like big and memorable song like What You Know.
I feel like that might have been it, to be honest.
Yeah,
If it didn't come after what you know, what is it?
What You Know.
What do you know? I always say what do you know? And I'm like, wait, that's not right. I feel like if it didn't come after that song, I would maybe remember it a little bit better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. Tell me your score.
I give this a 3.
Okay, this is a 4.5 for
Yeah.
me.
Oh,
I figured.
yeah.
Also, track 9 syndrome.
We're gonna have to make the little split every single time.
Exactly. I figured that you wouldn't like this one as much. I really like where this song works. Like I love the chorus. I love
Yeah.
the verses. It's very like kind of understated. When the bridge hits and then you get like the outro and it's huge. I love that. I think that's one of
Yeah.
the most like memorable parts of the album for me.
Yeah.
And then it kind of like collapses away into like the like they're still singing with the synth and then the synth is like there for like 20 or 30 seconds
Yeah.
kind of fading out.
It kind of continues.
It's kind of cool. It's cool as like a second to last song too, because then the last song is like, you know, that's your last experience with the album.
Yeah. Because I feel like the last song is the one where you're like kind of preparing to exit it.
hmm
So this one is the last one where it can really like get you.
You can go crazy.
Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
you kind of like pull it back a little bit.
I'm also happy that like we reinstated your number 9 track. Like
Yes.
success.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't. Okay, this is going to seem like I'm trying to do this. I'm not trying to do
It's-
this.
yeah.
I listened through this
trust
album
you.
again. This was a 4. I listened to this album again, and I was like, "Oh, that bridge is really good." And I did.
Yeah,
I
and then
did a
you
4.5, and I looked at it, and I was like, "Oh my god."
Track 9, yeah. No, I
Yeah.
trust you. Especially since like sometimes you're like, oh wait, this is track 9 and I hated it. So
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, that takes us to track number 10, You're Not Stubborn.
Mm.
I only have one note about this song. Cool synth bass line, and it's a groove. I like this song a lot. I gave it a 4.
Oh wow.
I think this one is really memorable, and I think the second half of the album works better for me,
Yeah.
especially if you do like the standard edition and put Undercover Martin there. Then it's kind of like, I mean, from Something Good Can Work, 3.5 is the lowest
Yeah.
score. So,
I mean, I kind of agree because I did have 2 out of my 3,
Mm-hmm.
favorite songs in the second half. So I agree with that. This is a 3.5 for me.
Mhm.
I thought it was like a good closing song. I think it fits well for the end of the album.
I agree. It's
Yeah.
a lot slower than the other ones, especially
Yeah.
when you go kind of crazy on some of the songs. I think they're probably above like 130 BPM.
Yeah,
Where it's
especially like the song before this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is kind of like a nice quiet one to take us back to our roots, I guess.
yeah.
But I really enjoyed this song. This one was memorable to me, and I feel like this one kind of complements Something Good Can Work in a way.
Yeah.
Like they feel like this one feels more like a mature version, I guess, of Something Good Can Work, which I both gave a 4. So
Yeah.
that takes us to the end of the album. This is a short one this week.
Very short.
Instead of 17 tracks, we only have 10 to do. They're a lot more similar.
Yeah.
A lot like cohesive, not to say that other projects aren't cohesive, but there's
Right.
definitely like you can feel it in this one.
Well, it's also interesting that with 7 tracks, it's also only like 30 minutes.
10 tracks. Yeah, it's,
Or,
I
sorry,
think
I don't know why I said 7.
17, I
tracks.
don't know.
I
If
think
you're
that's
thinking
what it
about
was
that.
probably,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like 34 minutes, I think, is like the total runtime.
Yeah.
It's very short.
Very, very short.
It gets in and it gets out, and I think that's perfect. Like, I don't feel when I finish the album like I need more from them.
Yeah, definitely not.
Like, I want to listen to more, but it's not like, oh, this album was
Yeah.
missing something.
It feels complete.
Exactly. Yeah. What was your score for this album?
So I kept going back and forth because on the one hand, there are 3 songs that I do like,
Yes.
and that I like would revisit. And overall, even though most of the songs I kind of like, I might not come back to it, but it's fine. Like I still enjoyed them. I think ultimately the big problem for me though was that most of the songs did just like mesh into one
Yeah.
for me, which lowered it. I was going back between a 3 and a 3.5
Okay.
because of that.
That's kind of what I figured.
Yeah, and ultimately I went with a 3 purely because of that fact. I
That's
think
fair.
if they were a little bit less cohesive, ironically, I will give like a 3.5. Which is interesting because I know, like, for instance, with Daft Punk, a lot of the songs there do kind of go through the same thing,
Same with S.G. Lewis.
Yeah, same with
Yeah.
S.G. Lewis, but those 2 albums really, really worked for me. I don't know why, but even though they're very similar, I could still tell them apart very much.
This is more along the Kesha route for
this
you.
is the
Yeah.
Kesha route. I don't know why. Maybe it's just like it works with EDM for me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why.
I think that's fair.
But what did you give it?
I gave this one a 3.5. I think it has the potential to go up to 4 as I listen to it more and more.
Right.
And like,
Especially with that second half.
exactly. Yeah. Because I like a lot of the songs on here. There's a few that like, I still like them, but I'm not like as excited to return to them, I guess. But this is one where I feel like I need to spend more time with it to really differentiate some of the songs I didn't know before listening to this.
Yeah.
Because I think 3 songs from this album before listening to it. And then listening to it in full, I was kind of like, oh, there's a lot of songs that sound very similar.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to like do with that? But for now, this is a 3.5. I could see this going up, especially like focusing on the last half of the album or
Yeah.
like the second half of the album, and especially the last like 3 songs. So 3.5 for now, subject to change.
Maybe we will revisit this one.
Maybe
one
we
day.
will. Yeah. But yeah, that was Two Door Cinema Club, Tourist History. I would recommend listening to this because I do think it is a foundational building block of
Yeah.
indie pop and indie rock, especially in the 2010s.
Which is nice that we started with this album because I don't know much about indie pop, to be honest, or indie rock.
Yeah.
So there
and
we go.
it's a great genre with a lot of cool
Yeah.
innovators. So we will definitely be listening to it more because it's one of the genres that I feel like the most comfortable in, I guess.
Yeah.
Not like necessarily making it because I don't play guitar, which is sad, but
Yeah.
maybe
You
someday.
can always learn.
Yeah, maybe someday I will learn.
You ready for Superbad?
Let's get into the movie this week.
As usual, let's get into the credits first. Directed by Greg Mottola.
I thought Mottola, but I don't know.
Mottola. There we go. You
Yes.
can decide how it's pronounced yourself. Written by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. Produced by Judd. I always say Jude every time. Produced by Judd Apatow and Shauna Robertson. Cinematography by Russ Alsobrook. Edited by Willem Kerr. And music by Lyle Workman. And of course, for the cast, Jonah Hill,
Yes.
Michael Cera, Seth Rogen, Bill Hader,
Yes.
Christopher Mintz-Platz, Emma Stone, Martha McIsaac, and many others.
Many others.
Many.
I looked on IMDb. I think there were like 90 people like
Yeah.
credited as actors in this movie.
Those party scenes will...
Party scenes,
Yeah.
but then also just like the one-off characters that were just
That's
like
true.
around, and
That's
it's
true.
like it was kind of crazy.
The actress that plays the liquor store...
Yeah.
yeah.
She's so
great.
good.
She's so good, yeah. I also totally forgot the IMDb logline, I realized. So, 2 codependent high school seniors are forced to deal with separation anxiety after their plans to stage a booze-soaked party go awry. That's
I don't
good.
know how I feel about
Yeah.
that log line because it led me in different places than the movie did.
It tells you the story,
Yeah.
but it doesn't tell you what the movie is really like or about.
I
feel
agree.
like. Yeah. It feels much too like proper.
It
You
feels
know?
proper, but it also feels like I hesitate to say this, but it's like they didn't watch the movie. Like, you know?
Kinda, yeah. Like they read
in some of the other
a
ones,
synopsis or
right?
something.
Yeah, and some of the other ones, it's like okay, they're intentionally like withholding pieces, but this makes me think like, do they know what the movie's about?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
It doesn't really work.
It's
to
more
be
of an
honest.
adventure than like
Yeah.
than it would suggest from the log line as well.
Yeah,
I was
and, like-
I was not expecting that going in.
Had you read the logline before you watched the film?
I did, yeah,
Oh, okay.
because I wanted to see if Seth Rogen was actually in this film
Yeah.
because I knew he wrote it, and
Yeah.
I looked it up and I was like, oh, he is. He's one of the cops. So I was like prepared for that. But then I also saw the log line and I was like, oh, this is what the movie's about. And then I
Yeah.
watched it and I was like, okay, this is definitely much more what I thought the movie was about versus
Yeah.
the log line.
The moment I saw that log line, I was like, that does not, like, I
Yeah.
don't like this log line. But yeah, as you said, written by best friends Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg.
Yes, best friends from Canada, from
That's
Vancouver.
right. That's right.
Shout out Canada.
I feel like everyone forgets Seth Rogen is Canadian.
Yes,
Yeah.
everyone does. That's probably why he's so nice. I was talking to some of my friends.
Why you
who-
laugh so much?
Right. Some of my friends who are like in the film industry, and everybody has a story with Seth Rogen that he's just like one of the nicest guys. So,
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, that's good to hear. You know,
Yeah.
I'm glad about that because oftentimes when you have like comedians, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's not good. They're
Like
not a
Jerry
good person.
Seinfeld or something.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately.
What can we do? At least he's nice. That's
Yeah, at least
plus
Seth
one
Rogen's
on the
nice.
nice list. I don't know.
I have not heard anything about Evan Goldberg. He sounds like he'd probably be
Yeah.
nice, though. He's
Well, I feel
Canadian
like
as well.
He's also kind of done less, or not done less, but not done as much high profile stuff.
Yeah, he's definitely like a writer, where
Yeah.
Seth Rogen's like a personality as well.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
That also writes.
Yeah. But yeah, they started writing Superbad when they were just 13.
I saw that because
Yeah.
that's cool.
They were just like, we just want to see if we can write a movie or not. And they tried and they did. And it was obviously, as I feel like everyone knows at this point, directly influenced by their senior year in high school.
Mm-hmm.
It pretty much is kind of just their life.
Yeah.
And the characters are them, even down to the names.
I mean, yeah,
obviously.
Seth and Evan.
Seth and Evan. And yes, they have said that Fogel is based off someone real. Seth Rogen really did hate this person as much as Seth in the movie hates them.
Was their name Fogel? Do we know?
I don't think it was.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I did see the name Steven Glansberg pop up. I don't know if that's that person though, or someone else.
Because in the movie as well, I know they mentioned Shauna, and I saw Shauna
Yeah.
Robertson was the producer, and I was like, oh,
Yeah, I'm
How
not
does that
sure
work?
if that's also like a connection or, a
if it's
coincidence.
or if it's like, oh, this person's working on the movie, let's give him
Yeah,
a character. You know,
exactly. So yeah, I'm not sure, but what I did see is that there is a real person. There is a real Fogel somewhere out there. Other stuff in the script is also based off real life. For instance, the scene where they walk in on the cocaine, where Evan walks in on the cocaine being done, that actually happened to them. That's
That's a great scene.
I know, right? As they have said, quote, and this is like a mixed quote of both of them speaking, but as they have said, quote, everyone started doing blow. The house was owned by a midget and a bodybuilder who were a couple, and there was a pig.
Oh my god.
I'm just like, I wonder where these guys were going in their high school their high school days to come across a party like this. That sounds crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, so hey kids, write about stuff you know. I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I do want to bring up something because you said technically it's little person now. I know that's a direct
Yes,
quote.
right.
But then also we get the F slur in this movie
We do.
quite a few times and used as a nickname.
Which, like, obviously I don't want to make excuses, but this is something you would see in the 2000s. like-
Definitely.
yeah. And obviously before then.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously it doesn't excuse it, but like,
Yeah.
you know,
we
I-
grew up in the 2000s. I don't know if you heard people calling each other. I mean,
yeah. I mean, you would certainly hear the R word all the
Oh
time.
yeah,
Like,
and
all the
most
time.
of the time it was "you're gay" and
Yeah.
not like the F slur,
Exactly.
because that was kind of being phased out at that point.
Yeah.
But
So,
it
I
is
mean-
definitely very like of the time.
I will say, if you're going to watch this film,
Be prepared,
be prepared.
Yeah.
Absolutely be prepared. And I would say if you're watching any film,
especially any
like,
comedy.
any comedy, yeah, I feel like comedy especially.
Comedy
just-
ages the worst of anything. I feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah, which is
'Cause-
why when there's a good comedy that ages well, you're like, oh, thank God. you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Which I did feel about a lot of this movie. I was surprised by
A lot
actually
of
how
it does
good it
work.
ages.
Yeah, a lot of it does work. Yeah, I agree with that. So originally, Seth Rogen was going to play Seth, but because of his height, they realized that it just wouldn't work. And so they decided that he would just play one of the policemen. And of course, Jonah Hill came in and auditioned. He originally auditioned for a smaller part, even though he was like, I am right for Evan. He even felt that Seth and Evan were stupid for not realizing that sooner. Obviously, they cast him. Sorry, for Seth. For
okay,
Seth.
I was gonna say Jonah Hill for Evan is crazy.
Sorry, I mixed that up.
Okay.
For Seth. For Seth.
Okay.
Yeah, he came in for, he eventually obviously got the role of Seth, and he was like, I'm perfect for this role.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And the crazy thing is that Hill is only 2 years younger than Rogen. Yeah.
I was curious about
Both
that.
in their
yeah.
20s when they were filming this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Seth Rogen does seem so much older, and it's probably the height.
Yeah.
honestly.
The height and the beard.
Yeah.
Or the
whatever
stash.
that is.
Yeah,
'Cause
whatever
it,
that
like,
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael Cera's mother actually read the script before he did and like told him that he should audition.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And Hill and Rogen have said that by this point they were such good friends that when they were casting Evan, they were just pretty much looking for another friend. And that was Michael Cera.
Nice.
I did want to mention when Mintz Platz was auditioning across from Hill, Hill actually disliked his performance because he felt like he wasn't doing anything. But then everyone pulled him to the monitor and showed him, and he realized that Mintz Platz was actually like helping his performance by the way he was performing.
Interesting.
So he was cast like that. And last thing, Bill Hader based his character, the policeman, on an actual policeman that had arrested him down to the glasses.
Wow.
That was fun. Like this whole movie is just based off everyone's lives.
Yeah.
Pretty much. The film was shot in and around LA. I'm sure if you live in Los Angeles, you have either been to one of the places where this was shot at or recognize it or something like that, because it was shot all throughout LA.
Yeah, specifically a lot in the Valley, I noticed, and then Culver City.
Yeah, because
Sony.
Fox Hill Mall in Culver City was shot there. El Segundo High School, close to Culver City. Of course, I have to bring up the fact that the parking lot scene where McLovin, I'm going to call him McLovin because
Yeah.
you have to. And the cops drive donuts in the car, and the police car was filmed at a parking lot at CSUN.
Our alma mater.
Our alma mater, that's right. I don't know which one.
We don't know either.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
I think
and honestly, maybe like they turned that parking lot into a building.
That's
or,
true, yeah.
did something like that.
I think it's probably one of the ones that's like further away from campus that I like didn't go to,
Like the North Campus area.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
And then also I want to shout out because I looked it up. Evan's house is right next to the Target in Northridge.
Yep.
So shout out to that because that was the Target I used to shop at when I lived by CSUN.
You probably drove by that house all the time.
Oh my God, I did.
Yeah.
Because that was the way because it's so bad to make a left turn out of there. So I'd just make a right turn and
So you
then
go
go
through the
back.
streets.
And then I'm sure I saw that house 100%. Actually, I know I have.
Now we know when we can go back and visit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
I bet the poor owner of the house is sick and tired of people walking up.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Who knows?
I don't know if this is a popular enough movie to this day. You know?
I mean, it's very popular. Still.
is.
It's a classic, like a classic 2000s.
I mean, I feel like
comedy.
it's not going to be like E.T., like we talked about earlier, of that house where people are going to go to it more. Like it doesn't
Or
have
like
it
Breaking
doesn't have
Bad.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, the Breaking Bad house.
I feel bad for those owners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was like a new owner of it and they knew that it was the Breaking Bad house and then they still got mad when people wanted to see it, which is insane.
Well, Vince Gilligan had to come out and tell fans, please stop throwing pizzas on the roof. Because that's like a famous scene from, You haven't seen Breaking Bad.
I have not.
I guess we'll have to do.
Seen a lot of clips of it
Yeah.
for some reason.
I guess we'll have to do like a 5-part episode
lot
for every
of,
season.
A lot of shit posts online about Breaking Bad.
And Walter, anyway. So Mintz Platz was 17 at the time of filming.
He was.
He was very young, yeah.
Okay, I thought he actually looked like a child compared to everyone
He
else.
is ironically the right age for his character. But because of that, for his sex scene, his mom had to be present on set, which, thinking back to when I was 17, I would have been, I would not have been able to do that in front of my mom. Michael Cera was also reportedly unbreakable on set he would never laugh.
That's crazy.
He laughed once reportedly, and that was when Jonah Hill sneezed.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that tracks. Of course, this is a very crude movie, so they did run into problems. For instance, Sony refused to let the character of Seth play the PlayStation in that scene where they're, at Evan's house. So they had to give it to Evan and have him play the PlayStation.
That's really funny.
Sony was like, this character is so vile that we will not let him like even touch the PlayStation. And Seth Rogen was like, wow, that character is me, so you're calling me a vile person.
That is crazy. As you're employing him to write a movie for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting.
There were also, all the alcoholic beverage companies did not want like their labels to show in this film because of the crude nature. There was also the problem of like the penis drawings.
Yeah. There's a lot of those.
Yeah.
A lot.
That was a big point of like issue with the MPAA.
Oh, yeah.
And every single drawing, all of which were drawn by Evan Goldberg's brother David.
I saw David Goldberg on there, and I was like, this guy's got to be related.
That's right. But yeah, they had to pretty much be vetted by the studio, and like they would send memos to the producing team that would be say like too big, too veiny, stuff like that. Which
That's
just
insane.
imagining someone writing that and sending it is crazy.
See, this is why Hollywood is like such a fun industry.
Exactly.
It's like
you never
there's
know what's
no
gonna
other
happen.
no other industry where you're talking about dick drawings and how they butt up against like legal issues.
The way that they got around, because there's the little girl holding the picture. The way they got around that is they would actually give her a different picture, and they would just cut to it.
I figured, yeah.
Yeah, like that's that's the way it should be. Like you obviously don't want the little kid. Yeah. Last thing about production, there was a lot of improvisation on set. A lot of it.
I wondered.
Yeah. Min Platz's first thing he said was improv in his first scene. He just walked on set and started improvising. The semen conversation, for instance, fully improvised. It was cut down for like 4 minutes to, however long it is in the final film.
Yeah.
Something else that stuck out to me, Seth's comment that Fogel looks like a future pedophile was ad-libbed by
Really?
Jonah Hill. Yeah.
Oh my God. That I laughed out loud at that. That was crazy.
Yeah. And all in all, the word fuck is said 176 times in this film.
Nice.
That's 1.6 fucks per minute.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I did not know you were going to have that.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I saw that on IMDb. That's like one of the trivia or like background details. And I was like, we have to write that down.
That's crazy.
It opened to good critical reception. It wasn't like unanimous, but many thought it was, a really great comedy film. And obviously it's now become a classic.
Yeah.
A 2010s comedy classic. It's
2000s.
Oh, yeah. Did I say 2010s?
Is it 2010s? Yeah. I mean,
it's close. But
it's definitely
not,
it's definitely a 2000s movie, though. You can feel it.
No, yeah. And it, it sprang the careers of most of the people involved, especially Seth Rogen, Jonah Hill, and Michael Cera, I would say. And it was also a big box office success. The budget was somewhere from 17.5 to 20 million.
That's a good budget.
Yeah, that's a pretty big budget for a film of this size, to be honest.
And for a comedy film, like these are
you don't see that anymore.
Exactly. These are the mid-budget movies that are like disappearing, which is kind of why comedy is disappearing in film too.
Which should come back.
Absolutely. Sony?
Come on. Come on. You can, maybe the vile character can touch the PlayStation this time.
Exactly.
But the film grossed $169 million.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's for a $20 million budget, that's really good.
And for a comedy film, that's quite good too.
Well, and this was the age of, all the Judd Apatow,
Judd Apatow.
See, I do it every single time. All the Judd Apatow like comedy films.
Yeah.
This was like around the time when it was starting, and those films, not all of them, but most of them, I feel like were box office successes.
I mean, even if they weren't box office successes, basically all Judd Apatow films are like, oh, that's a classic. That's a classic.
This Anchorman.
Yeah.
Like all those kind of.
I mean, even his TV show, Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that was huge too. I mean, that it wasn't big at the time because obviously it got canceled.
But now it's a
everybody
classic,
looks back on it and being like, wow, this is like the birth of comedy.
Yeah. So we've kind of like already, I think, mentioned what we think, but What did you think of this film?
I thought this was really good.
Yeah.
And I was surprised at how good it was.
Mm.
I think it holds up like remarkably well. Obviously, we're approaching 20 years, which is kind of crazy.
That is really
because then what does that say about our ages?
I think it's 20 years this or like next year or the year after, right?
2007. So it'll be 2027. So yeah, in 2 years, less than 2 years, this will be
crazy.
Yeah, that is insane.
We're old.
We're old. Yeah. But I thought this was really good. I mean, for being a 2000s movie, I expected a lot more like dubious things, I guess.
Yeah.
The whole character of Evan not wanting to hook up with a girl when she's drunk, I was like, wow, that's like actually like it's not bad. You know? I was expecting so much worse. And
you kind of expect him to be like
an actual piece of shit.
You expect like all the characters to be
and then
shit,
it's also like
he's not.
It's also kind of endearing in a way where he's like, I have to get drunk, you know, like where it's like, oh, if we're both drunk, then it's okay. Which obviously is like
it's not okay, but
right. Yeah. And that's something that like culturally has shifted. But it's kind
of also like you could see like he's a kid who doesn't know anything.
Exactly. And of the time, that's a surprisingly like progressive view to be like, wow, I should respect women.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Especially coming from a senior from high school.
Exactly. Yeah.
The most immature time of all. Yeah. Going into this, I was also pleasantly surprised because
Had you seen this before?
Well, I watched it for the first time 4 or 5 months ago.
Okay.
So I hadn't seen
recent,
it growing up or anything like that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is growing up. This is kind of I feel like this might be a bit much.
Yeah.
This is one you'd have to hide from your parents.
Yeah. No, and not only would you hide this from your parents, I don't think you should watch this before you are either the age of the characters or older.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think the age of the characters, and this is something that like I have always hated about kind of ratings, especially because it's like, I get it. You're like protecting kids who don't want to see this stuff, but also it's like this is a pretty accurate description of like high school or accurate depiction
of that time.
Yes, for sure. And I know it's like crude and stuff, but it's like people that age should be able to see it. And I know this was a huge thing with Bo Burnham's movie 8th grade because if you were in 8th grade, you wouldn't have been able to see it because of the rating it got.
But that's like I feel it's accurate. Important.
Yes,
you know, because it's discussing things that are important. And obviously, it's a little different because that is a drama, and it's about a lot of issues that a lot of kids in 8th grade are going through. Yeah, but I completely agree. I also think it's kind of idiotic when, for instance, like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles has an R rating because it has the 7 F words in one scene. Remember the scene?
It has an R rating?
Yeah.
I did not realize that.
I find that to be idiotic.
Yeah.
Now,
this is obviously like, R, right?
Yeah, this is R. Yeah.
I was going to say 100 and whatever fucks in this movie is crazy.
But like, for films like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I'm like, like I wouldn't show this to like a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
But
13-year-olds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. Like, obviously,
I think I watched it when I was like 14 or 15. Yeah,
exactly. Like, obviously, you're like, you know, there's not a good word you don't use it just every day, but like,
don't draw dicks, kids.
Don't draw dicks. But going into it, I was apprehensive because obviously it's from the 2000s, you know, from 2007, and I knew it was very, very crude.
You know, you're going to get some words that you should not say.
Exactly,
because that's just the era.
No, exactly. And there's also the fact that this type of comedy was never really my comedy. Like, I'll enjoy it, but it's never been my thing, really. So going into it, I was kind of like, I don't know if I'll like it, even though it is a classic. But when you watch it, it does work. And you can see why it has become a classic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, that being said, it's still not my type of comedy. I prefer other comedic films. I prefer other styles of comedy.
Interesting.
But it's still, like, I think it's undeniable that this is a really well-made comedy. And it is funny. It's a 3.5 for me.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to withhold my score for a little bit.
Okay.
Because I want to say a few other things.
For sure.
Christopher Mintz-Plasse, I've never seen him in anything. I've never seen most of these people in anything. I think this is probably my first time seeing Jonah Hill in a movie.
Probably.
I have seen Michael Cera in things before.
Yeah.
Barbie, obviously. But Arrested Development, I'm a huge
He's
fan.
Great.
And Michael Cera is amazing in this.
I love him in Scott Pilgrim.
I have not seen
Which
it, and
we'll have
that's
to
one we
watch, yeah.
definitely need to watch.
100%.
And I also haven't seen Juno, which I know he's really good into.
I actually haven't seen that either.
Ooh,
yeah.
okay.
We'll have to watch or do an episode on that with Jennifer or something.
We need to do some teen movies.
Yeah, more teen movies.
Yes,
for sure.
Because Michael Cera is a great teen.
Yeah.
I don't know how old he was here, but he is so good at playing that awkward teenage character.
Yeah, he was. I don't have the exact age, but I think either like very late teens, like 18, 19, or early 20s, like 21 or something like that.
Yeah. I could see that. But I wanted to say specifically, I thought he was great. This type of character, he's so good at playing.
He is so good. His style of comedy is so minimal, but it works so well.
Yes. And I feel the same way about him in Arrested Development. He almost, it's like you're kind of wondering if he's in on the joke in a way.
Yeah.
And it's so unique and it's so great, especially for comedy. I think he's an amazing comedic actor.
Absolutely.
And then I also wanted to say, I thought the two girls, Emma Stone, I don't remember the other girl's name, McIsaac, right? I think is her last name.
Martha McIsaac.
Yes, Martha. Those two are so good.
Yeah.
And I feel like the dynamic between the four of them, even when they're split up, I feel like is so good. It's so well written. It's so awkward. I feel like
absolutely
the awkwardness of this movie, I was not expecting. And there were times where I was like sitting and I was like, oh, this is like, why are you back? Some of this, you'll stay in the scene for too long with Jonah Hill or with Michael Cera, and it's like, oh my God, shut up. Like, why are you like this?
Why do you keep
it's
talking?
like, wow, I was like this in high school too. Yeah. So weird.
It's also really interesting to me, and this is, something you come across a lot, but seeing Emma Stone in this film before she really got big. Because obviously, this put her on the scene, but she didn't become like Emma Stone until, like the mid 2010s or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting seeing an actor that is in a film before they got big, really.
I agree.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to say, I think her voice is so cool. I love her voice. I love
it's really interesting.
Yeah, it's so unique. And I was like, you just know immediately, oh, that's Emma Stone. But
I also didn't realize she was in this the first time I watched it.
Oh, yeah. I thought she was going to have a bigger role in it when I saw her name on there. But then I kind of realized, oh, yeah, this is before she was like a big name, you know? But I thought this movie, I thought the casting was great. I think Bill Hader and Seth Rogen as the cops are hilarious. The fact that it's more of an adventure film as well is quite interesting, where they're constantly going to new places and experiencing insane things because it allows you to experience those insane things without it feeling like it's like a heightened reality in a way.
I agree. I also don't want to say, to go back to Bill Hader, he is so good at roles like this.
Bill Hader's just amazing.
Oh, he is, absolutely.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite actors.
Oh yeah, I love him. One of the best comedic actors of the 21st century, I think.
And everyone watch Barry. It's great.
Yes. It's really, really good.
Last season, but the first two seasons are peak TV.
I agree. I think for me, the last two seasons were kind of, the third one was better than the fourth one, I think.
It gets dramatic.
Yeah.
The comedy of the season one specifically is insane because it's just the juxtaposition of it is crazy and it's so well done.
Yeah, go watch it. It's really good. But yeah, he this is the type of character that I think he excels at as a comedic performer.
I agree.
These kind of deadpan, almost stupid characters.
Yeah, but insane.
But insane at the same time.
Yeah. So this movie is a 4 for me.
Nice.
And I thought about my score from last week of Jurassic Park being a 3.5, and I thought maybe that should be a 4 as well.
Yeah.
This movie holds up so well.
It does. It does surprisingly.
Yeah. And I feel like this is... I mean, I haven't seen a lot of high school things, but I think you know this about me. I always gravitate towards coming of age stories because I think that's the most interesting part of life to write about. At least that I've experienced so far. I feel like as you kind of are developing your identity and figuring out your place in the world, it gives you a lot of stuff to work with as a writer. And especially as a comedian, because it's such an awkward time where you're going to just be weird, and get yourself into weird situations. But this one I do really like, and maybe Jurassic Park will go up to a 4, which is why I brought it up, because I feel like to me these are kind of the same sides. No, I get that. I feel the same way about them.
Very iconic, very iconic classics and not only of their genres but of their time periods.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I also wanted to say, I haven't seen a lot of coming of age films, of high school films, but I do feel like this is probably going to be, if not the best comedy, one of the best comedies of like the high school film kind of genre.
Probably the most famous coming of age comedy set in the high school like period. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like if any of those things that I've said are also things that you enjoy, you will you will love this movie, because I think this is really good.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how good it was.
Especially if you like crude humor.
Yes. Yeah. And I should also say that I'm not usually like the biggest crude humor person. I think I like it more than you. But
even then it still works for me.
Yes.
And I'm someone that doesn't really like this type of humor.
Yeah.
So I think that speaks to how successful this film is.
Yeah.
At making it work.
And also another thing that I thought that was very interesting is this is not like a joke movie necessarily.
No.
It's more of a situational. Like they get into situations where you're like, this is a comedic situation at their end.
Which I think typically makes for a stronger comedy.
And I feel like it can age much better that way, instead of, because I'm a very like topical person. When I write jokes, I'm writing things that are happening in the world right now. So it's not going to age super great. And that's kind of the comedy that I like consuming as well, where it's like, oh, this is very much of its time. Like you have to know what's going on in the world. But this, like, you have to know a little bit, but it's like also just the situations are like universally funny.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And this, in that sense, it reminds me of my favorite comedies. You know, films like The Birdcage or Tootsie or Dirty Rotten Scoundrel. Like all of those, it is very much like obviously there's a lot of fantastic, hilarious jokes, but so much of the comedy comes from the situations. Yeah. And it makes for like a really strong film that is not only like timeless in the way that you were saying, but is also rewatchable. Very, 100%. Very rewatchable. Yeah. Which I think this film is very successful at. It's very rewatchable, even if you've like seen it a bunch of times, you know?
Because there's so many jokes in it that you like, it's so rapid fire, and the situations are so rapid fire that it's like you have to almost go back and like experience it again.
Absolutely.
So I 100% agree with that. Yeah, but this one, for our first comedy, this is really successful, and it makes me want to watch more comedy films because I love comedy. This is my thing. This is my bread and butter.
I think I'm gonna bring one of my favorite comedies to the table soon.
Nice. So, I'm very excited about that. Yeah, because I don't know if I've mentioned it on here before, but I grew up watching sitcoms. Like that was my thing. Like, when I say like I have a background in TV, it's like, no, I have a background in network sitcoms. And that was like my goal in life. I was like, I want to write for like Modern Family.
I don't think I ever asked you, but what is your all-time favorite sitcom?
All-time favorite sitcom is Community. 100%.
Yeah.
I think it kind of falls apart in later seasons.
Yeah, I've heard that. I haven't watched it myself. That's on my watch list, but
you need to watch it. I think season 6 is really good, and I will die on that hill. I know most of my friends who have watched it don't like the later seasons, but I think season 6 is really good because it captures like a bittersweet tone. Right. But first 3 seasons are maybe the greatest like piece of like television ever made. Yeah. It's incredible. So that is my favorite. That was what inspired me to go to film school.
Go check out Superbad and Community.
Yes. Very, very different styles of humor.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah. But highly recommend. But I think this was a successful week. I don't know about you.
Well, what is your score? Oh, wait, you said your score is 4.
Yeah, my score is a 4.
I forgot already.
Maybe it'll go up. I don't know.
Yeah. I could see it going up.
Yeah.
And I could see Jurassic Park going up. So
yeah,
an exciting episode where everything's going up.
Exactly. And maybe my tourist history score will go up too to keep with the theme.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. Very successful week.
Yeah, even though they're not like super related, you know?
I mean, there's the fact that some of the songs we could see being in the film.
Yeah.
And then in some ways thematically, I think maybe.
I could see that. Yeah. It's kind of it's like a young person week, you know, high school age.
This one is for all you kids, for all you youngsters.
It will be marked.
Kids, I mean teenagers.
It will be marked as explicit, so be warned.
Because this film is also explicit.
Yeah. But I think that wraps us up for this week.
Yeah. Again, follow us on Instagram for updates on what next week's episode is going to be. You can send us an email at upcpod. Don't forget to rate, review.
At gmail.com.
That's right. I always forget that part.
I'm waiting. I'm ready.
You guys know what it is.
Yeah.
You guys have heard it in past episodes, probably, hopefully, fingers crossed. But yeah, leave a rating, a review, a like, share it with your friends.
5 stars on Spotify.
That's
yes. Right. But I think that's where we leave it. We will see you next week.
That's right.